Motorcycle security is just one of those harsh realities when you start to ride a bike. It's something you are going to need to take seriously. I think if you look at the statistics, they can be quite scary, but the last one I saw for London was 20,000 bikes stolen in a year. I think it was 40,000 between England and Wales. As I say, that can be quite scary, but I think it's important that you have your eyes open to the risks when you're trying to keep your bike safe. Now, obviously you're going to need some form of lock, some kind of hard security, but I would also argue it's important to get some form of tracker as well. There are a few different options you can go for, some better than others. This is the Monimoto that we have here at Urban Rider. This is a sealed unit that you actually fit and monitor yourself. I will explain some of the virtues of that in a few moments, but I think the best way to demonstrate it is to give it to one of my colleagues, Brett, to take and act as our motorcycle thief. Now bear with me, Brett, I'm just going to make sure that the keys to the Super 73 are nice and sanitized. They should be safe for you now, Brett. There you go.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you very much. I will try my absolute best. Now, whilst Brett, he was in a hurry then, that's a little bit concerning. Whilst Brett goes and hides the bike, I'm going to explain a little bit more about the Monimoto. Now, I can actually speak from my own painful experience of having a bike stolen, which I had a few years back, and it's not a nice thing to have happen to you. And as a result, I have started putting trackers on my bike. I didn't at the time, and I've gone through a few different versions, so I feel like I can talk with authority when it comes to living with certain devices and the benefits that go with that. What I would say with this one is that you can have this in conjunction, in addition to your regular tracker, and you can put multiple different devices on there. The more you have, the safer it should be in theory, and being as this doesn't draw anything from your bike, it is a really easy thing to stick on, very hassle-free. So it's not an either-or situation. I would genuinely put more than one tracker on if I knew it wasn't going to pull anything off the battery. And on that topic, sometimes those trackers can flatten your battery after about 2 weeks or so, or even a week if your battery isn't the strongest. And if you've got some kind of retro bike or custom bike, sometimes that is going to be the case. Even if you've got a relatively modern bike, it can still draw a lot from the battery and be quite demanding. And it's annoying to come back to your bike and find out that it is flat. Then when you come to servicing the bike or washing the bike even, it can be a little bit finicky going into the app, and sometimes, not to name and shame, but some of them don't work so well and you'll get alerts when you're not meaning to. And again, not to name and shame, but some of those will cost you extra money to have more alerts for a month. Not so with the Monimoto. Firstly, it'll use a key fob, or a key I think is what they actually term it, in conjunction with the Monimoto tracker. So as long as you are near the bike with that, the alarm won't go off. You can also snooze that if it were to go off and keep alerting you. And you don't have to pay for extra alerts if it goes off accidentally. Within this funky little tube then, you get, first off, it just pings out there, this little card to say where to download the app from. You will need that obviously, and a phone, a smartphone to work with the device. So you can go to the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, if you so choose, depending on what you've got. You've got the fob on top there. This is what you need to keep in proximity of the device if you don't want the alarm to go off. We don't recommend, or at least they don't recommend, to stick this on a set of keys. You want to keep it separate to your keys, just in case you were to get bike jacked or someone was to take it with the keys on it. Obviously it's not going to start to track. Although having said that, you can actually override that and still choose active track via the app if you need to. But it's also not waterproof, worth pointing out that note as well. So you want to keep that in a pocket or something in a jacket. You can also go for multiples of these if you so choose, depending on if you've got different jackets or you just want more of them. And I think they come in at €33 per fob if you want to, and you can have up to 3. What you can also do conversely though is go for multiple trackers and fit one key fob to all of those if you have multiple bikes. That is quite a useful feature. Next thing in the box is the tracker itself, and then some instructions as well as some cable ties so you can actually fit it to your bike. This is 125 by 35 millimeters and it weighs around 106 grams. The point, of course, being that it's compact and you can find somewhere discreetly to hide that on your bike. That is one of the most important things, actually finding a spot for this. What you'll need to do to set up is pull out the little tag you get in the fob so the battery is activated, and the same is true of the GPS. If you just open this, it is waterproof and dustproof. It's rated, I think, to IP65. But if I just on my shoulders, I can open that and you'll see the battery in there actually pulls the full way out. There we go. So you can see the waterproof rubber seal around there for when it is all in one unit. And that's the device on the inside. You've also got a SIM card included. You can choose your own SIM card if you want to, but of course it will need something in order to track it via the GPS. That is free for 2 months, and then it will start to cost you €3 a month after that. It's something you are going to need on all trackers. If you went for a more dedicated hardwired unit, those cost upwards of about £10 a month, I think, and some of those you need to buy on a yearly subscription. You don't necessarily need to do that with this. And if we seal that back up, you can see that on the bottom it says GPS, so you're going to need to position the tapered side either pointing upwards or out and away from the bike. They do recommend not to connect that or touch it to anything metal, and not to hide this too deeply in your bike, where you may well compromise the signal strength a bit. Obviously, I'm not going to show you exactly where I've hidden it on mine. That would somewhat defeat the purpose, but you will be able to find somewhere on any kind of bike where you can hide this pretty discreetly. Obviously, the idea is that if a motorcycle thief were to take your bike, they don't know where this is, so they can't just take it out and chuck it. Be clever, be strategic with where you place this. The battery should last you a year. That will vary on how you're using it, but there is at least an indication on the app to tell you how much is left. Now, once you've downloaded the app, of course, you're going to need to pair it with your device, which is pretty simple, and it will walk you through that. As I say, the key thing really is to take out the tag and make sure it's got a SIM card in there so that the batteries are active and it is all good to go. Once it's found it, you can go into the app. The home screen is pretty basic, pretty simple. It has all the information you need really, which is the battery life of the device if you were to need to change that, and whether or not the unit is ready or armed. It will also give you the battery life on the fob, which is a useful thing to have. You've then got an events section, which is where it will store events if your bike has been moved or the alert has been raised. You've got a help section, which is really useful and will give you all the information you need on this, and then you've got the settings so that you can tailor make this to a degree. One of the most useful things in the settings is going to be the sensitivity, which you can set to either low, default, or high. If you do stick it on high sensitivity, you may well find that it accidentally triggers from time to time. Not a huge problem, it's not going to alert anyone other than yourself, and you can stick it on snooze if you want to. You can go from, I think, between an hour and 24 hours on snooze if you so desire. But for most circumstances, I'm going to say default is your best choice. As I say, if you're testing it, take the key fob. I think it's 10 meters away from the bike, but it is fairly generous with that, so make sure it's far enough away. Stick your phone's Bluetooth to off so that that's not interfering with it either or connecting to it, and then move the bike. You can either roll it away or just shake it around and see if it triggers, and then obviously gives you a location ping for it. When movement is detected, it is going to wait 20 seconds to see whether or not it is in proximity of the key fob. Within the next 30 seconds, it's going to decide whether or not the owner is near the bike, and then it will ring you to let you know that something is happening with the tracker. Following that, it will give you a push notification, which you can follow through to the app, where it will show you the alerts, and then you can check the location. It will tell you whether it is moving, it will tell you what speed approximately it is moving at, and where it currently is. It uses GPS, of course, to tell you your bike's position, unless the signal isn't strong enough, at which point it's going to use something called GSM, where it will try and use GSM towers to triangulate the position of the bike, which is less accurate, but at least gives you a ballpark figure of where it might be. And it means that if it's locked up in something like a shipping container where the signal won't be quite so strong, you will still know roughly where it is. Ideally though, GPS is more accurate, so it's important, as I say, that you position this somewhere on the bike where that signal is strong. So we of course have the European version here at Urban Rider. We have a list on the website of all the countries that are covered under this. It doesn't cover the US, but then that's less of a big deal here if you're based in the UK, obviously. We've got them on the website for £134.99, and we have a link in the description if you want to follow that. And of course, if you've got any questions, you can drop us a line and we'll get back to you. Having lived with both this and the wired versions, the data tool and the bike track, I would say there are certain things this actually does slightly better. It mitigates some of the problems that I found with my wired versions. Now, it's not saying this replaces that, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's an either-or situation. I would probably go for both. Personally, having been burnt once, I can't spend enough on motorcycle security. I just want to know that my bike is nice and secure, and I tend to double up as much as I can with locks or with other security at the same time, especially when it's not going to be any more inconvenient or frustrating having this on there. It doesn't draw anything on the battery, so you're not going to find that it's too much of an inconvenience living with it. It's very low maintenance because of that, and it just adds a bit of extra security for me. But I'd say that's probably enough of a head start for Brett to have hidden the bike. So if I just get the app out one more time, I can see where the bike is, and I go to last known location. It is telling me that the bike is stationary, which is good. And I can see that he's chosen a very picturesque spot to hide. Motorcycle thieves aren't normally that courteous, but if I just click on the icon, it will take me through to my maps. So that will be Google Maps on this because it's Android. It will be different on Apple, I'm sure. But I'm going to do my best Liam Neeson impression and track him down. See you in a second. Right then, Treacle. Come back with my Super 73. So if the bike is in motion, you set it to active track, it will tell you where the bike is and give you periodic updates. Once the bike has stopped, it will tell you where it's located, and then you can call up your own maps. Gone for Google Maps, it is the simplest, so we've got that in the bottom right corner there, and that's just going to take me, hopefully, to the bike's last known location. You can run, you can hide, Brett, but I will find you. And what I now need to do is look out for someone with a smile on their face, drinking a latte. He looks like a latte man to me, maybe a flat white. Is he hiding or is he in plain sight? Nice Yamaha, that's not the bike I'm looking for.
A Hero motorbike, there he is.
Hey, hey, found it.
Well, that didn't take as long as I thought it would. Did a pretty good job, actually.
That was good.
Yeah, you gave me enough time to get my coffee and my crisps. How'd you find it?
It's pretty easy.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. It does active track while you're on the move, and then it'll tell me when it's stationary and stopped. Yeah, you are a bike thief with standards. You come to a nice spot to look out. It's good.
Well, surely this is where all bike thieves go.
In my mind it is, yeah. And the weather's nice for it as well. What a lovely day out. What a lovely day to get your Super 73 stolen.
What I did think as well is that when I was ordering my my coffee, I was like, well, I had to walk away from it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, if it did get stolen, we can just make a whole new part of this video.
Yeah.
And it would be a real adventure.